Well, for those of you who are just coming in, I'm going to ask the folks in the back to just please stay silent. Thank you so much. All right, take your seats, everybody. And we're in for an amazing conversation. Jeff, you have had truly one of the most storied careers in media. You were president of NBC Universal, president of CNN. Where we are now is very different than even when you left legacy media. Only about 41% of media leaders are confident in journalism's future for 2025, and I actually think that's high. That seems high to me, 41%.
I'd say that's good.
Yeah, exactly. If you were president of NBC or president of CNN today, what would be keeping you up at night?
What would be keeping me up at night? Well, I mean, I think everything would be keeping me up at night. I think look, it's a very polarized environment that we live in. New technology, AI, all of these things are changing the way, certainly, that the news industry operates. But I also would be thinking about how do I harness all of that, right, and use it to our advantage. And I think that it's a time when things are changing very fast. But I also think that's an opportunity. And I think that if we're going to talk specifically about the news space and the journalism space, look, I think that being afraid of technology and being afraid of these new ways to distribute content is a mistake. I think that otherwise you will get left behind.
I agree.
And so we are in that time where we are in a transition, but you have to embrace that transition. And I think if anything, that's what the traditional legacy media outlets have been a little reluctant to do, a little slow to do. And if I were in one of those places, in one of those companies, I would be embracing it in a much bigger way.
It is, in my experience, when I left 4 years ago, it was truly that they were honestly scared about the climate.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit like the conversation you were just having on the entertainment side.
Yeah.
And, obviously my whole life has gone back and forth between entertainment and news. And so, I think that we used to say in the entertainment side, there's a lot of mansions built on the hills of Hollywood, preserving the old system, right? And so that you don't want to change the way you've been doing business. And Tony was talking about cable networks and all of that. And the reality is that, it's very hard to change the wheels on the car while it's moving.
Right.
But if you don't, then the car eventually isn't going to work. Well, it's the same thing here in the media space, that you're very used to the profits that come from the sub fees, and you're very used to the profits that come from operating the way you have. But eventually that will run out, and this is about how you get the mix right while it's all evolving. And so I think the key right now would be to, especially if we're going to talk about the legacy and traditional media organizations, I think that, I understand that they need to protect, where their profitability comes from today, but I think they have to embrace the new creator economy, the new creators, and I would be bringing those in. Now, look, I think one of the best examples that has done that, if I can, is ESPN, which, by bringing Pat McAfee in and having him do, actually only 3 hours a day, whatever that is, 2-3 hours a day, I think that is actually a really good example that I think news organizations, ESPN really is both sports, news, information. I think that's a really good example that I would think other legacy news organizations should adapt, is tap into that type of personality who's delivering information and doing it in a different way. And I would encourage, all of the legacy operations to think about that more.
How can they remain relevant, I think, is also an important question.
Well,
stay financially strong and remain relevant.
Well, I mean, this is the challenge, right?
Yes.
This is what I'm talking about. But I think that the way you do it, look, I think that if you embrace, I think the biggest issue with the legacy and traditional news outlets is that they've been reluctant to bring in the new creators, and and to embrace that and continue to deliver information in the same way they have. And I think, first of all, their news and their information should be on every platform there is.
I agree.
Every platform. It's crazy that every news outlet isn't on every platform imaginable. And I think that they should be buying, licensing, including new folks who are disseminating information who might not look like a traditional newscaster doing the 6 o'clock news. Well, most people, that's not the way that they're getting their information anymore.
And even the way that you're almost, trained to speak as a broadcaster is something that is not authentic to audiences
I think
anymore.
that you use the word. I mean, that is the key. I believe this is the key. This is the key to television, and the key to news in television is authenticity. Okay, and I think that if social media and the social platforms have really changed anything, it's that the new generation, all they care about is authenticity. And, most of these newer, younger creators are using, material from the same places that the traditional places are. I know it's a controversial thing to talk about the Associated Press or Reuters or any of those services. They're all using the same material, but the newer creators are presenting it in a much more authentic way. And the problem with, I think, the legacy outlets is that they just don't feel authentic anymore. And I think that's a huge turnoff, especially to new generations of people. I think younger viewers and younger readers want information.
Yeah.
They want news. And there's more information.
They're thirsty for it. They're thirsty
absolutely,
for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they want it in an authentic way.
Because there's something about, when you exude that quote unquote fakeness that oftentimes comes from broadcasting, that it erodes trust in these younger audiences.
Well, I think that is what's happening.
Yes,
I do think in the younger generations, trust, and that's a controversial word as to what people mean by that. But the reality is, I think that two people, could present the same information and one does it in a more authentic way, they're going to believe that that's more real.
Absolutely.
And so I think that is what the traditional legacy organizations have not fully embraced.
Now, you have had, just always such instinct and eye. You're known for that. You've worked with some of the top talent, in your many, many years in the business. So in talking about authenticity and the departure from legacy media, tell us in the room about what you're doing at RedBird IMI right now. What caught your eye about what you're doing? What do you bring to the table?
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I put together a joint venture between two organizations. IMI is the media arm, a media organization in Abu Dhabi, International Media Investments, and they have invested locally in the region for many years. I've known them for quite some time, and after I was finished at NBC Universal, then I was done at CNN. After 35 years in the business, I was really trying to think about, what do I want to do next? I had done many of the roles in media.
I mean, he started out as the executive producer of the Today Show at age 26. So
yeah, it's a long time ago. I'm very old now, but I was trying to figure out, what did I want to do next, and I think the thing that I thought about was investing. So I brought together IMI with RedBird Capital, which is Jerry Cardinal's investment firm in New York that has had a tremendous amount of success. Brought those two organizations together, backed with capital from both. I partnered with both of those, and we, for the last 2 years, have been looking for investments in the entertainment, live event, live sports, and digital news space. And so in the last 2 years, we've put to work nearly $2 billion in investments across those platforms. And it's been a really terrific run for 2 years, and we're continuing to look how we can continue to grow each of those three platforms. For us, our main platforms are entertainment and content, live events, live sports, and digital news.
Give us one example of, either one of those that you've been excited about that has come to fruition.
I'm excited about all of them, but I'll tell you. I mean, I'll give you an example in each of them that we're doing. In digital news, which is an area where we want to continue, or digital information, shall we say, an area that we're going to continue to really look at over the course of the next couple of years. We've got an investment in a small startup that is growing quite rapidly now called Front Office Sports, which covers the intersection of business and sports. Everybody now wants to know, how much do people get paid? What are the TV rights deals? Things like that. So the intersection of business and sports, we got behind that, and that's growing incredibly well.
That's fascinating.
So that's one. That's in the digital news and information space. In the live events and live sports space, we backed an entrepreneur who came to us and started a new company called Everwonder. Did you ever wonder how things happen, right? So Everwonder. And they really have caught the zeitgeist of, streamers and distributors who are interested in live events, live sports. And so we started that company from scratch, a de novo investment in that, and that company is really growing fast now. And we're just at the right time in being able to do live events and live sports, and frankly, that was one of my backgrounds my whole life. So that's really of great interest to me. And then another platform, and we want to grow that as well. So we're going to invest more in that. And then the third one is the content and entertainment space. The major platform we have in that space is All3 Media, which is the largest independent production company in the UK, and the biggest show they have here in the United States that people may know about is Traders, which airs on Peacock, and produced by one of their portfolio companies. But All3 Media is a terrific success. Does both scripted and unscripted. We also own 40% of Media Res, which is an independent scripted production company in Los Angeles, which produces, among other things, The Morning Show. I had spent many years on a morning show, so that was kind of fun. Pachinko, a number of other programs. So that's in the content space, and we're looking to grow that as well. So we're very excited about our three platforms, and are going to continue to try to grow them over the next couple of years.
And globally, yes?
Very much globally,
yes.
As I said, very much globally. As I said, All3 is in the UK and the largest there, and our ambitions are great there. Everwonder, Everwonder produced the Tyson Paul fight for Netflix. The executive produced the 2 NFL games for Netflix on Christmas Day. These are global events. There will be more of that. And Front Office Sports, obviously is pretty domestically focused, but we do want to grow our digital news footprint. And I think that one of the things, getting back to what we were talking about before, is I think one of the areas of growth over the next couple of years is individual brands, things like Front Office Sports, things like what Barry Weiss has done with the Free Press, whether it be Axios or Punchbowl News or those kind of brands. There's individual brands, people as brands. We grew up with Time and People and Sports Illustrated.
But now with Substack,
but Substack exactly. And Substack is I think the game changer for many of these people that can do it on their own, and whether you can do it in text or video. And I think what's going to happen over time is that you can aggregate a number of those. I think what should happen over time, some of them have great scale and good for them, and some of them are subscale. And if others can bring together a few of those Substacks in a bundle.
Absolutely.
Now, you bring it back, and that if you have a political reporter and you have a celebrity reporter.
And if you know your audience and what your TAM is,
well,
then...
that's exactly right. Now, if you put all that together, it's kind of called a newspaper. So what's old, what's new is old again, or what's old is new again, however you want to look at it. But nonetheless, I do think that that's where we're going to go over the next couple years. And I think Substack is a huge opportunity in that respect.
So one last question before we get to our lightning round.
The lightning round scares me, by the way. The last lightning round
You should
was
not be
hard.
scared.
Oh, okay.
Fear not. We talked a lot about AI at plenary. We actually have not talked about AI in this conversation much because I think it's implicit. But tell me about how AI can actually be used for good in news and journalism. In your view.
No, I think. Look, I think there is a tremendous opportunity with AI, and I think journalists should not be afraid of it. First of all, I think organizations should be doing deals with many of the tools of AI. I think AI can help, with making decisions and research and all kinds of information. I think AI should be utilized in journalism and can help do things much more quickly. I think the Miami Herald, I'm just using the Miami Herald as an example because we're in Miami, should be the main source for everything that's happening in Miami today, doing a deal with OpenAI to help do that. I think that there is huge opportunity. Now listen, AI is not going to replace a reporter going into a garage and meeting a source and anything like that. So I don't think that people need to be afraid of that. You're always going to need human reporters to do that. But I think that in the big scheme, AI can be a great tool and benefit to journalism as well.
And we go back to what we were talking about in the future of entertainment conversation, which is good storytelling, and nothing is going to replace that. Human beings.
That matters whether you're talking entertainment,
absolutely,
news, anything.
Absolutely. And human beings, we've been telling stories since the caves, since the clay tablets of Mesopotamia 5,000 years ago. And the power of a message, whether it's written or recorded or posted on X or Truth Social, is going to stay with us forever. So, lightning round, Mr. Zucker.
Okay.
Favorite interview you've ever produced?
Oh, my God. Fidel Castro in Havana, Cuba. It lasted 5 hours. I know I'm not allowed to say that here, but that went forever, and that was quite something.
Talk about something that's of interest to the Miami audience.
Exactly.
That's huge.
Yeah.
The most fascinating person you've ever met, you cannot say Fidel Castro.
No, I believe you. That wouldn't be the answer here. And it wouldn't be the answer anyway. The most fascinating person I've ever met? Oh, wow. The Pope.
The current Pope.
The current Pope.
Okay. One piece of media, it can be TV, film, podcast, book, you wish you had greenlit.
The Sopranos.
Wow, of course. If you weren't in media, what would you be doing?
Well, the reason I'm in media is because I didn't get into law school. Now, I thank God every day I didn't get into law school because it allowed me to go into media. I'd probably be teaching tennis.
Oh, that's unexpected. I'm glad you didn't go into tennis or law because they would have been our loss. One journalist or news personality who always kept you on your toes.
Bill O'Reilly.
Okay. And then finally, describe your leadership style in 3 words.
Intense and passionate.
You were missing one word.
Oh, I thought the and was a word. Intense, passionate, and compassionate.
Can we get Mr. Jeff Zucker a big round of applause, everybody? Thank you so much. That was amazing, Jeff.